All right, people, have a look at this. This is not London, where it happens almost on a weekly basis. This is not France, where it's been going on for the last 20 years. It's not any other bleeding heart, refugees are welcome kind of city in Europe. This is Melbourne. It just happened at some shopping center in Melbourne. I don't know, they haven't mentioned which one, but it's all over social media. And what we can see, as they say, youth violence. So we are witnessing this youth violence that we saw in Clapham. It's starting to happen. Have a look at them. How many Aussies are there? What is this? This thing never used to happen in Australia. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again. And I'm going to tell you an anecdote as well. So back in mid-2000s, 2005, 2006, back in my uni days, and of course, if you're not a liberal, bleeding heart liberal in your uni days, then there's something wrong with you, especially back in those days. I know these days a lot of young people are drifting to the right, but back in my time, every university student was a bleeding heart leftist. We were the pioneers of gay rights, which I still proudly hold. I think people should be allowed to do whatever they want to do in their private lives. It's no one's concern. We were very feminist because those feminist ideals were coming forward. Yes, I voted Julia Gillard because she was a woman. So yeah, hey, look, you are a different person when you're a younger person. And when you look at the world, when you travel the world, and as you get older, you become a different person. I still take pride in being a classical liberal. That's how I like to identify myself. But according to some people, I'm far right. So back in those days, there was a bit of a discussion, not a lot of discussion, but there was a bit of discussion when Australia started taking in a lot of refugees from Africa, mainly Sudan and Somalia, I believe. So a lot of war-ravaged refugees were coming into Australia because one thing that Australia has done much better than their European counterparts is that Australia always had a good control over its borders. Okay, everything here, whatever crisis that you look at in Australia, it is done through legal means. So in the UK, there is a debate of illegal migration and legal migration. In the US, there's a debate of illegal migration and legal migration. But in Australia, it has predominantly always been legal migration. So whatever crisis that we're looking at right now, it is all being done legally. So back in those days, I knew some older Aussies because of my work. And they used to say, oh my God, we're going to have a kind of problem that we have in other countries. Rude between the lines. So I was like, no, that's so rude. You know, you shouldn't think like that. Typical bleeding heart arguments. And that comes from ignorance, but compassion. Compassion, but ignorance. Lack of knowledge of the differences between different cultures, how do they view certain topics, and that is going to have an impact on your society. And to be fair, Europe was not as bad, or at least it wasn't known to Aussies how bad Europe was or how bad the UK was in 2005. They hadn't had the 2015 refugee crisis yet. I'll just talk about the UK. The legal migrants that they had taken in from Pakistan and Bangladesh and India, that was starting to unravel at that point. But the world didn't know much about it. This is the time when Tommy Robinson was coming out. We knew a little bit about terrorism, but we didn't know much about British Pakistanis or British Muslims, because at that point, the British establishment was just covering their crimes up. So there was no precedent that 2 or 3 generations later, people from hostile, violent cultures will become a problem of their own. We didn't know that at that point. Now we know. Everyone knows this. Just look at the UK and France and Germany and, you know, all these Western European countries. Even within 10 years, they're paying the price of opening up their borders in the name of humanity and compassion, and refugees are welcome. So Australia still didn't open up its borders for illegal migrants, but we started taking some refugees from Africa. A lot of those people came in, they had kids then. So those kids today would be 15, 25 years old. And this is what you're looking at here. These are the kids of those people. So as I said, we did something which seemed right on its own. At that time, it seemed like the right thing to do. And here's the result. Okay? Here is the result. We cannot look away and we cannot say that it has been completely successful. No. Let me show you something else. Look at this. The UK took in other migrant groups from other cultures for their own unique reasons. Okay, a lot of them came during the Windrush generation. I don't know if it's the kids of those people or there was a later group of migrants that came in with different kind of grievances or their own cultural problems, because every culture has a problem. Okay, white culture has problems too. Just like that, we should not hesitate in saying that other cultures from other societies have their own problems. And sometimes their problems are much worse than our problems. Or by our, I mean problems in the West. Then, we shouldn't really shy away from saying that. But that's the first thing they told you, not to do that. Don't talk about that. You're racist and a bigot. So, some people started noticing in 2015. Some people started noticing after COVID. And some people are now starting to notice. But with each stage, we've had an increase in number of people who believe it. Maybe multiculturalism is not working the way you sold it to us. Have a look at this. This is Clapham. What do you see here? Now, it's so obvious to say most of these people are black kids. So what is it? What is it that is making black kids behave like this? What is it? If you just say, oh, well, it's white supremacy and they did this and that, blah, 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 whatever the history might be, what is it that we don't see white kids behave like that, or Indian kids behave like that, Chinese kids behave like that? Why is it that some cultures are producing children who behave like this and some cultures who are okay, who are not doing this? Look at this. This is happening in France. What is this? Look at this. This guy's Indian, and he's not impressed. It's like, what are you guys doing? Like, seriously, what is it? You're having fun. This is a cultural issue. When a certain demographic behaves in a certain manner, which is adversely affecting your society, then you should be allowed to ask the question that what is wrong with these people? And by these people, I mean everyone. It could be anything. Again, I felt the need to explain myself because I don't want people to take it the wrong way. So anyway, I digress. We should be allowed to ask these questions of what is wrong with certain cultures, and will it be a good idea to bring more of them? And because if you don't address these questions, then another group will emerge who would say, not only that we stop bringing them, but we need to start sending some of them back, at least the worst offenders. And then they will switch to, okay, even menial offenders. So get a grip. Mainstream political parties of Australia, they need to get a grip. You've already given rise to One Nation, which is the new right. You're also giving a reason for a new left to emerge. And I worry, what is it going to be? I think it's going to be the Greens. I know they're not doing good in the polls, but look what happened to the Greens in the UK. A year ago, they were nowhere to be found. I was like, who's going to take these clowns seriously? But look at that. Not only they have become the biggest lefty party, they've also become the second biggest political party in Great Britain. And Pauline Hanson in Queensland today or yesterday, I think One Nation has become the biggest political party in Queensland. So anyway, we need to have an honest discussion about immigration. And if we don't have that, then someone else will have that conversation, because you can't suppress conversations. Then don't come crying that there's been a sudden rise in far-right politics.